Hi, my name is Kay Sutha. I am a business strategist and I will be your host. In this podcast, I'll be getting raw, real, and relentless whilst interviewing successful entrepreneurs from all over the world who specialize in different aspects of business. We will cover the 5 main pillars of business, which are sales, marketing, finance, operations, and leadership, but not forgetting mindset, live and digital events, plus much, much more. You will gain insights, tips and tricks, and discover jaw-dropping actionable steps that you will be able to put in place for your business right away. Guys, I've got an exciting guest for you today. He is a best-selling author, globally endorsed drummer, podcaster, recovered drug addict, stepdad, and a successful business owner. He has been featured on BBC One News for the work he's done for the 100 Club and NFP group for aspiring entrepreneurs focused on mental health, mindset, motivation, and business acumen. Now, after losing his previous business in the entertainment industry due to COVID, he is now building UK's biggest comparison site for businesses. He delivers keynotes for entrepreneurs, business owners, and students on an array of different subjects that ensure growth within their lives. He is here today to share with us how to create a bulletproof mindset, guys, with nothing more than as little daily effort needed. Please welcome Lee Bridges, author of Do Shit, Get Shit Done, and CEO of Reform Financial. Lee, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here on our show. How are you feeling today?
That was an insane intro. Thank you so much. You've made me go all funny, love. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Your show is so dope, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm always good. Thank you. Yeah. I'm feeling absolutely wonderful. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's been go, 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 go. And you know what? I've been so excited to have you on here. I know that there's going to be so many people listening to this that's going to think, holy crap, how the hell did he do this? Right? So if it's okay with you, I would love to go straight into this, right? Because I know there's so much value you're going to be providing to people that they can implement straight away. And so I would like to just jump in with the first question, and people are probably thinking about this already, so I have to ask this. But how did you go from becoming a drug addict and becoming a business owner? How did that transformation begin?
Sorry, you heard it wrong. It's drag addict. I was just really into drag. I'm joking. No.
I was like, oh my goodness, did I say something wrong? Oh my gosh. Okay, you're gonna say something there. Thanks, Lee.
No problem at all. It's a really good question. Thank you. So I was a traveling musician for a long time. I started playing drums when I was 14, and then I started. I just loved gigging. I just loved getting out there, playing gigs, going to new places, traveling a lot, which is awesome. It's a really, really cool thing to do. Right. It's not very good for your mental health. It's not always. It's not very good for your actual health. It's hard to sort of settle down, have a family. It's hard to have any schedule whatsoever. Yeah. And for the longest time, I was kind of like, just kind of doing gigs, having a little party, no real direction or nothing like that. And one of the things that happens when you're gigging a lot, and we did all right, we didn't do too bad, but one of the things that happens when you're gigging a lot is you never have any money. And I never used to think that this was important at all. I was one of those people that was like, cool, I could, I'll figure it out later, no real sort of aspiration other than I want to play drums, but no specifics, no strategy behind it, no kind of anything else. So it was like, yeah, man, I want to play drums. That's what I'm going to do. And I did this for a while, and then I started coming back from tours, and I wouldn't be able to make my rent, or I'd have to sort of like jump for a few hoops when I got back home to make some money. And then a friend of mine at the time said, "Oh, have you thought about playing like function gigs? So when you play at a wedding, and they're like much better paid than the gigs I was playing with my originals band." But they very, very slowly start to kill you, and it takes all the passion out of what you do. I did it for about 6 years, and in the meantime I started lecturing as well. I love to teach. I absolutely love to mentor and things like that. So so I was doing this, and at the same time I had a bit of a year. It was one of those, everyone goes through them. Lost a friend of a friend, committed suicide, standard kind of crappy year. And I was just that guy. I smoked a bit of pot when I was a kid. I like a bit of a drink, but nothing too heavy. But I was at a party, and yeah, I just literally did one line, and then I was done for about 2.5 years. 300 quid a day habit. I absolutely hate the trade. I've always hated it. Even before I took it, I hate the trade. I think it's a terrible, terrible trade. I hate everything about it. I just, I never thought I'd be addicted to anything. And I did. The funniest thing about it was that I wasn't really stitching anyone else up. I was still turning up at the college I was lecturing at. I was still keynote speaking at universities. No one noticed. And I was getting up super early in the morning. Oh yeah, for sure. It was insane time. And I was getting up early in the morning. Say again?
I said that was interesting that no one actually noticed anything different.
No, for real. The funny thing is, when you get good at stitching yourself up and lying to yourself, I wasn't doing it to anybody else, you know what I mean? But you can get very conniving inside your own brain. Your brain can start to stitch yourself up, you know? Okay. So yeah, I was just kind of holding it together for everybody else, but absolutely ruining myself. And I got to the point where I tried treatments. I tried everything to get off it. Well, I didn't try everything because obviously I would have got off it straight away, but I tried as many things as I could think at the time. Right. And I was going to the doctor, my local doctor, knew my shoe size. I was in there so often kind of thing. I tried CA, AA, all of these different things. Right. And just nothing more. The thing I found is that everyone wanted to talk about the past or the problems that I had. And there was no real action and no real solution to it. And it was kind of almost like I felt like I was just going around in circles. And, I'm pretty chill as a person. My ethics are in a good place kind of thing. But I was just right in the middle of it. And so I started writing. I don't know why. I have no idea. I've never been a writer, never been anything like that. And I just started writing these little notes down and journaling. Right. And a lot of the things I was writing about were sort of like little mini non-excusable life hacks that I'll mention in a bit. But they were things where I was like, right, I give myself no way out. So it'd be like, so say for instance, I was explaining it like this. If you want to run a marathon, that works for some people. Some people can just jump straight on that marathon. They can do it from A to B in one go. For me, I need like daily, consistent, like tiny little wins every single day. And I constantly try to make myself a little bit better than I was the day before. Not massively better. So there's no excuse, right? So if I said to if you were like, I hate running, there's no way I want to do a marathon ever. And I said, I tell you what, let's just run like 0.1 of a kilometer. And you were like, okay, I can do that. There's no way out. Anyone can do that, right? So I give myself those little things. The next day, do 0.2 of a kilometer. Next day, 0.3. So I was comparing this to what I was doing, and a friend came around to my house once and started reading these notes. And I was like, no, get off the no, what are you doing? Get off that thing. And she's like, this is kind of good. This is kind of helpful. And so I decided to sort of self-publish. We stuck it up on Amazon, and we got a bestseller within the first couple of weeks. Sold a few thousand copies within the first month with like no marketing spend or anything. And the sort of premise behind the book is that it's super easy. It's basically like talking to your mate down the pub. There's no preaching in it. There's no if you do X, Y will happen. I really struggle with those kind of books where people call themselves gurus and stuff like that. That's not my vibe. It's very much everyone's different. Everyone needs a different pace to work at. And so to long-windedly answer your question, Kate, I started writing the book, but I've been running a business for years alongside that. So when I was a traveling musician, and just about the time I started working at the college, I've noticed a few gaps in the market. One of the things with musicians is they're terrible at business, and they also have it's just up or down. So they get super busy in the middle of the summer, and then super busy at Christmas, and then nothing in between. There's no salary for them. So we put together Beach Music, which you mentioned before, which is the one that went under due to COVID. And we put that together, and the idea was that we could get salaries for musicians. So we approached hotels, places like that, where they have music all year round. So instead of saying to a musician, right, you never know when your next gig's going to be, but you're going to get asked 20 gigs on one day in the summer and then no gigs for the whole of November. We were like, right, okay, we'll get it so that they can have like a weekly slot at this hotel, a weekly slot at that hotel. And then they've got 2 gigs a week throughout the whole year, or 3 gigs a week or whatever it was. And it was doing really well. We had staff, offices, everything like that, completely bootstrapped it, built it up from nothing. And then COVID was like, nah, bruv. So we just lost it overnight. And I tried to play. You could probably, this is a bit dumb on my part. I'm not your standard businessman, I don't think. So I wear Hawaiian shirts, so it's really a bit dumb on my part, but I decided that I didn't want to furlough anyone, and no one ever works for me. I've never had an employee that works for me. We all work together, as soppy as that sounds, and I know it's really cheesy.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. Yeah, because I always say that about my team as well. Like, you don't work for me. We work together. In fact, I tell them that they're my boss. Right, they're the one that keeps it going and keep it running. They're my boss, right? Well, what do you need me to do? And that's what I'll get done that day. They'll say to me, right, you've got a podcast with Lee Bridges today. Make sure you're on it at this time. This is all the details. Make sure you go through it. They tell me what to do, right? So no, 100%. I totally understand where you're coming from.
That's so cool. I love that. I really do. I'm going to implement that if you don't mind me doing it.
Yeah, go ahead. You know what they say? They say, in when you go to school and you copy, right, they say that's cheating, that's plagiarism. But when you copy in business, it's called success, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset altogether. So yeah, feel free to take that. No issues at all.
Thank you very much.
And in fact, you know what, I'd like to just backtrack a little bit, because there was something that you said earlier on, and I was like, oh, that is really interesting. You mentioned that you don't just jump, you don't just do, or some people feel like that's what should be done, right? Like, if you're gonna be an Olympic champion and you're gonna be running like that, that's something that you're born with, right? But what you mentioned is that you had to take it a day at a time. So you had to train yourself, right? It wasn't something that you were born with or that was in you. You had to bring it out and actually train yourself, because I know there's a lot of people with a mindset of, oh, I can't be a professional runner, or, you know, I'm not a professional artist because I wasn't born with that talent. And you don't need to be born with a particular talent. You just got to be able to teach yourself or have it taught to you. So that was really interesting that you realized that you wasn't that type of person, and that you had to take it a day at a time and really just learn how to do this on a daily basis. So thanks for bringing that up.
No worries at all. And I mean, just, yeah, absolutely, for real. I mean, like, the thing is, obviously, if you're like, you know, really short, it's hard to be a basketball player. It's good, you know, you're gonna have a hit from the outset. In the same way, if you're X, it might be hard to do Y. But I really believe, and this is perfect for people like me. I'm not that clever, but what I am is resilient, and I'll do things over and over again until I can learn to enjoy something. If I don't like something, for instance, I was having a chat about this yesterday with one of my friends. When I wash the dishes, I do it the best I can every single time. I literally put my heart and soul into it. It sounds really funny, but I think if I can amplify that into everything else that I do, then it gives me a bit of, you know, somewhere to go. But the way that I see it is like, we're brought up in a certain way where we do what our parents did and they did what their parents did, and we go to school 5 days a week, then you're meant to go to work 5 days a week, and then you're meant to work for like 30, 40, 50 years, get a mortgage, do all that stuff, and then one day if you're lucky, you can retire. And wouldn't that be great when your body's absolutely screwed? I don't want that for me. I don't want that for kids at all. That's not my vibe. So what I realized a long time ago is that so think about it like this: when I put my underwear on or I brush my teeth, I don't even think about it. It is such a second nature. And the reason is because I've done it every single day of my life, apart from that one day I didn't put it on. But the rest of the time, you know, it's just so natural. So I figured to myself, if I can do that with learning business, learning marketing, if I can do that with learning how to burpee at the gym, if I can learn how to do that with cooking, it's always a bit terrible, and then a little bit better, then a little bit better, then a little bit better. And then you compound that over a couple of years or 3 years and you're laughing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it means that you can be pretty dumb and learn anything, which I like. I like that idea.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And you know what, I absolutely love your sense of humor. You are just hilarious. I'm loving this today. So I'd like to go on to the next question that I have for you. And we had a conversation prior to doing this today, and you said that you have a superpower and you have the ability of having boundless positivity. What does that mean, and how do you continue to have so much positivity around you when there's so much negativity going on as well?
Really good question. I mean, I never would call it a superpower, but I like that. I like that you coined that. That's awesome. I will take that. Look, the thing is, the way that I see that is that you can be in the like brightest room in the world. Like, just say you're in like a super bright room, there's all floodlights and everything. You can put as much dark in that room as you want. You can stuff dark in there, left, right, center. The room will still be light. I can walk into a pitch black room with like a tiny little match or a candle. I can light that thing up. It might not be massive, but the light will always outweigh the dark. So I've always kind of figured to myself, look, I get one shot of this. I'm going to die one day. And no one else seems to know what happens when you die. So I might as well give it my best. And if I can choose to be happy, and it's not some people say this to me all the time. And I hear people bounce this around and I don't agree with it. It's people like, oh, people are just born positive, or like, you're just happy all the time. Right. I worked at that. I friggin' worked at that, man. And that's something I do every day. I read 2 books a week on average. I listen to podcasts. I listen to audio books. I go to seminars. I network with people. I talk to people that are happy all the time. I talk to people that are positive all the time. I surround myself with those people. It's hard work to do that. And I think it's not something that's really taught at school. It's not something that you're raised with. It's kind of like, yeah, crack on. The world's going to be pretty crappy. Absolutely, the world is a terrible, treacherous, evil place sometimes. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be on the other side. do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that?
How do you maintain, I know, you're listening and reading positive books and everything, but you're human, right? Unless I don't know something, you're human. So do you not ever feel sad or feel angry or anything like that? And if you do, how do you manage to get yourself out of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I came up with these like 8 things. I can never remember all 8 of them, which is really embarrassing because I wrote about them. I'm writing about them in the second book, and I literally can't ever remember all 8. Probably from years ago. But there's certain things that if I do, they make me feel better. Of course, I get angry. Of course, I get anxious. I get super anxious. Of course, I get scared, worried, moody. All of those things. But I can snap myself out of it extremely quickly if it happens. I can notice it happen. I can sort myself out. And the way that I do that is I've practiced it for a long amount of time. I've literally sat there and practiced, like when I get angry, I think, right, okay, what happened there? What made me angry? What benefit do I get out of being angry? None. So, what's the point? So, but I do things like I exercise every day. It's important. It makes you happy. I eat well. 90% of the time, my nutrition is good. That makes you happy. I surround myself with good people, makes you happy. I educate myself every day, makes you happy. Like the thing is, whenever I talk to people that are down in the dumps and sad, don't get me wrong, there's 2 types here, because obviously there's the type of things where it's like just something brutal has just happened, and that's terrible. Right. Of course, be sad. Of course you're going to be sad. Someone you care about, you lose, or something like that. But for the rest of the time, it's like, what, you're PO'd because like you missed your favorite episode of Tip. What are you doing? Like, that's not a reason to be angry. You stubbed your toe. Okay, great, you've got a foot. That's a good thing. You can feel that. Do you know what I mean? So I just I try and set myself up for it. The best way I could explain it is, if I want to force myself to go to the gym and not miss the gym, or go for a run or whatever it is in the morning, I get my trainers out the night before. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I set myself up. I just try and make sure that there's no way I can really lose or feel like I'm screwing up. And if I do feel like that, like I say, I can kind of notice it pretty quickly. And I literally ask all my friends and family to call me on my BS, like as soon as I'm being a tart, and I do it a lot, like, it's a normal thing. But I want people to call me out. If it like we're talking about business, like, it's so cool what you said about your employees being the boss kind of thing, because they're going to call you out there. They're going to be like, Hannah said, this isn't done. Why haven't you done that? Yeah. Then it's up to you to go, hey, I'll go and do that now, or I won't do that, and one's going to work and one's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally understand it, totally get it. And I love the different comparisons and examples you're giving, because it's real, right? And people can actually relate to that. It makes complete sense. And so what I really want to ask you next is, I know you've gone through, the different ups and downs and adversities you have faced and all that. And really, you've learned through life skills. But what really makes you an expert on mindset? Is it because of the formula that you created? And how did you create that? How did you come up with that? What I really want our audience to find out is why they should get the expert advice from you. What makes you that qualified expert?
Yeah, no worries at all. I mean, to be completely honest with you, it sounds so soppy, but I've always been that guy that's just jumped off the cliff and figured out the plane on the way down. Do you know what I mean? I'm that sort of person. I have to throw myself into stuff. And like, it's weird because I've never really felt like an expert of anything, which is kind of a counterintuitive thing to say to you after you asking me that question.
Right.
The things I'm sincere. I genuinely get gassed up when someone else wins. I love it. I literally love it. So whenever I do mentor sessions or keynote speaks or anything like that, I get nervous. I don't like talking about myself. It's quite weird because I do a lot of podcasts, but I don't, whenever anyone asks me to do an intro, like, okay, tell me about you, like, that's the bit I really hate. I really struggle with that. I'm more interested in what you've done and how you've done it. And I try and learn from everyone that I listen to. And the funny thing is, everyone's winning all the time. It's just they don't always notice it. They don't, they'll be focused on this and they should be focused on that. The pen's always behind your ear, or the car keys are always in your pocket. You might turn the house up looking for them, but they're always there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the thing, if I had to answer your question in a sentence, I think the thing that would make me feel very confident about what I do, my success rate is 100%. I've never ever had someone that's sold me a mentorship that we haven't superseded the expectation that we had when we first started. I mean, I get probably about 10 to 15 emails a day from people that have read the book that are just like, oh my God, I just quit smoking because of you. I just left a relationship I hate because of the book, not because of me, but because of the book. I've just left the job that I absolutely hate. I've just told my boss where to go and I've started a company. I've lost weight, I've quit smoking, whatever it is. So I think for me, it's like testimonials is probably, to answer your question, it's probably what other people say. And I'm passionate. I love life. I love people winning. I've been right through it. And, when I had the addiction, I definitely nearly killed myself a few times. I had a little mini stroke. I've got no cartilage in the top of my nose. There's some real horrible, gnarly stuff there that's, never going to go. I don't want that for anyone. I genuinely believe just because one person's successful there's not a quota on success. There's not like, half the population have to be successful and the other half can't. Like we can literally, it sounds so soppy, but we can literally work together. This world could be beautiful. Like, it just takes a little bit of that. So I don't know if that answers your question. You can see I get awkward.
I'm going to come back to these testimonials that you're talking about a little bit later on, because I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And I'm sure our audience will as well. Are you able to teach at least one principle that our audience can apply straight away?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a bunch because I work on these little life hacks. I like lots of different things, but one that I think is really helpful just in general for anything that you do in life, whether that's you want to build a relationship, build a business, get your health sorted, whatever that goal is and however big that mountain is. I think that this will really work. So I always explain it like this. I always think you got to build a house. The problem is most people don't do the foundation. The foundation in my mind is mindset. That's your self-development, your self-improvement, your education. Most people try and build the house as like get rich quick or whatever they're doing, take the pill to lose weight. They try and build the house. The problem is you can build a house without a foundation, but it will not last. It will not stand the test of time. So you've got to get the foundation right first. You've got to put that time in. That might take 6 months, a year, whatever it takes, you need to put that time in. Then you start putting brick by brick. And this is the important part to this, is it's consistency. It's very small, unexcusable consistency where there's no way you can't get out of it. Like I say, if I said, right, you need to lay 20 bricks, you can do that. If I say lay 2,000 bricks, you might be like, nah, or you might start and then fail and then quit. So you build your foundation and then you start laying the bricks. The thing is, people want the quick route out. And for me, this doesn't work. I've never seen it work for anyone. That's why this is true. A third of lottery winners go bankrupt. That's insane. That's a huge proportion of lottery winners that go bankrupt. It's the same thing. People want the quick fix and they're not willing to put the time and effort in.
Right.
So you build your foundation and then you start laying bricks. The problem is for the first month, 2 months, if you're in business, maybe a year or 2 years, those bricks don't start to look like a wall yet. They're just a brick after a brick after a brick. But with a little bit of time, you turn around and you're like, oh my God, there's like a little tiny wall there. I can sort of see this house developing.
Right.
So you build and build and build, using your foundation to make sure that the build doesn't fall over. And then once it gets to the top, you do the last bit, which is execution, which is you put your roof on, because nobody wants to be super wet lying in their, in their bedroom kind of thing. You don't want the rain to get in. So you execute with the roof on. So to put that into a summary, if you're going to start anything, this is my outlook on this. If you were going to start anything, whatever it is, make sure that you got your tools in the first place. Spend a little bit of time being like, right, how strong do I need to be up here to be able to approach that mountain? If you're trying to climb a mountain where the view is impeccable, you need to be really strong up here, because you're going to keep failing on the way, right? Like constantly. Right. If it's a little mountain, not so much, you can get away with it. But I always think if you're going to climb a mountain, you might as well pick one with a really good view. But if, you know what I mean? But if you're doing that, then you need to be strong up here. So you need to put time and effort into that. Self-development, read, listen, talk to people, get healthy, eat well, like all of these things. And then start building it, put in the effort. Every now and again, one of those bricks isn't going to fit, or it's going to be snapped, or the cement's not going to stick, or whatever it is. That's just problems that happen daily. A problem's a reason to get stronger. Every time, man, I love this. Every single time I get to the point where I get annoyed at something, or I'm like, some annoying thing in business or my life where it's like, oh, that sucks. I don't know, you're trying to like write your terms and conditions or some really boring thing for a new website, and you're doing this thing and you're like, and every time I start to get narky about it and I'm like, this sucks, I don't want to do this job, I'm like, hold on a sec, someone's just given up. Someone just give up where I'm not going to give up. And then I'll do that bit and then I'm like, haha, okay, right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just sorry, it's bad. Just to always call yourself when you spit by mistake as well. It's really weird when people do that, don't you think? They spit and then they don't say anything, and then you're like, I don't know if I should bring that up or like, right. So yeah, apologies. But yeah, I think it's a little tiny consistency. Do it daily, do it every day. If it's worth doing, then it's worth doing every day.
All right, awesome. I love that. And yeah, I like how it's just about taking little bite size each and every day to build yourself up to, I guess, the person you want to be or the person you see yourself being. And yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the click of a finger. It's about just building progress within yourself. Right. And this is what you teach people. This is what your book is all about. Right. And knowing what those steps are and making sure you apply yourself to those. Right. Because, it's not about getting to that dream that you have. Right. You don't have dreams. You've got to turn those dreams into obligations. Right. It is an obligation for you to start living the life that you want. The minute you tell yourself it's an obligation, you have to implement those steps. Right? You can't skip a day, right? And then, or start next week. It starts right now. And so you got to make sure that these obligations are exactly that, and making sure that you take those steps each and every day. Don't miss a day and just keep going. And that's where you're going to see progress, not only for yourself, but also your environment and your surroundings, right? Because then you start learning or being more aware as to what your environment is like. Is it actually serving you? Having particular people in your world, is it actually serving you? Or do you maybe think you need to start doing some spring cleaning, right?
Yeah, that's so on point.
Right. So it's identifying your surroundings as well. And I love that. Thank you so much, Lee. My next thing, and what I really want to come back to, is you mentioned testimonials and bringing people the results that they're looking for. So would you be able to tell me and our audience today, maybe a couple of testimonials or a couple of results that you brought some of your recent clients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I won't be, if you want to check out live ones, then you can just go onto the Amazon page for the book or hit the website. But yeah, I mean, even this morning, so I had an email from someone this morning that's in New Zealand. She's messaged a couple of times off the back of my mailing list. Right. And I always reply to everyone. Sometimes it's long, but that's the bit where I think other people may quit, right? So she's been talking to me for a little while. And she just hates her job. She was like, I know I hate my job. I don't want to do this anymore. She's like, working in the supermarket. She's middle-aged, works in a supermarket. She's like, I know it's not getting me anywhere. It's secure. I can't bail. I literally can't bail. And this morning she sent me a message and she said, I've just set up a SaaS business. I'm literally like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I've quit my job. We're in profit within the first 3 months. She said, I wanted to save it to tell you that that we're in profit so that I could be like, right, cool, I've done this. And I just thought that was awesome. How awesome is that?
Right,
when someone's just
cool.
going from B to B. And I mean, but like I say, I get them quite frequently. And then on top of that, also, I set up a business when I lost my business to COVID. I set up a financial brokerage called Reform Financial. And I mean, we've only been running about 7 months. And our trust pilots have started coming in, and they're all from different clients, and they all say similar things, and it's all really refreshing. Really love working with you guys. Thank you so much for the customer service, because that's the thing for me. It's like, go above and beyond. I know it sounds soppy, but I like the idea of leave stuff better than you found it. I like that. Yeah. So whenever someone spends their time, their precious time, because there's nothing more precious in my opinion.
Right.
As soon as someone spends that with me or anyone I know or work with, then I would use your word. It's an obligation for me to get back to them. It's an obligation for me to do the right thing. But yeah, I mean, we're testimonials galore. I love it. I love hearing people's win stories. I put out a mailing list like once a week, sometimes twice a week, and we always get lush feedback. Like people just being, and it's. I always ask for feedback for myself as well, because I'm an idiot. Yeah. So I always get stuff, and I always, I want brutal honest. If someone's not happy with what I've done or how I've done it, or they've got a suggestion, I want them to be honest about it. So I often, like maybe once every 3 or 4 months, I'll do it. One of the mail outs will be like, please, can you give me feedback? Be brutal. Tell me what's up. So I also get my own feedback as well, which I quite like.
Awesome. And I like the fact that you're not scared of people being brutally honest, right? The good and the bad. You want to hear both in order to better your service, better your product, get better results for your clients. And is having that brutal honesty and being okay with it, finding solutions. But it's not just about hearing all the good stuff. We need to hear all the bad stuff too, right? In order to progress. And just like you mentioned earlier as well, like if you get off track, you need people around you to say, look, you need to stop your bullshit. You're really screwing up right now. You need to get back on track. And I like the word that you use, and we use it in the UK so often. Stop being a tart, right? And so, and so yeah, we don't only want that brutal honesty with our clients, but we need it with people around us to keep us on track, right? Because we are human beings and we are going to slip off track. It's going to happen, right? Something will, they'll put spanners in the work and something will happen and you'll get anxious, you'll get angry, you'll get worried, we get frustrated, all those emotions come up, but it's about getting back on track. So that's awesome. Now, where can people receive some additional free support from you? Where can they go?
Yeah, no worries at all. So, I mean, I honestly reply to everyone. So if anyone wants to email me, my personal email address, not my work one, is lee@leebridges.co.uk. And yes, I am that douchebag that has his own name twice in his email ID. Apologies. I need to not have anyone else with Lee in the team. But yeah, lee@leebridges.co.uk. We have the website, which is leebridges.co.uk. If you guys want a copy of the book for free, they can grab a free copy of the digital version of the book, which is leebridges.co.uk/DSGSD for do shit, get shit done. And then there'll be a little thing that just says password, and it's thank you book in capital letters, thank you book. And they click that, and then the whole thing will be PDF. They can download it and read it. I'm always up for a chinwag. So if anyone wants to, drop me an email. My Instagram, I've got a couple. I've got a drum one, which is @drumhacker, and my personal one, which is @leebridges. That's probably it. I've got a Grindr account, but we probably shouldn't talk about that.
Guys, just to let you know. That's about me. All the links that Lee has mentioned, there will definitely be in the show notes. So if you missed it, just go down to the show notes. All the information will be there for you. Lee, it was amazing having you here. Thank you for your time and listening to Uncensored Society podcast. All resources mentioned throughout the episode will be added to the show notes, and you'll be able to find them at the bottom as you scroll down. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe and leave a review in iTunes. Thank you once again.